Hello students, myself Mrs. Manisha Dahivelkar and I am going to teach you Science and Technology paper 2. Today we are going to study the third chapter, Life Processes in Living Organisms part 2. As you all know that the most important life process in the living organism is reproduction. Now what is the meaning of reproduction? Reproduction means formation of new organism of same species by earlier existing organism. Reproduction takes place by two methods, that is asexual and sexual reproduction. In this chapter, we are going to study both the methods in detail. First of all, we will see the difference between asexual and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction involves single organism. A single parent can give birth to its offsprings by simple cell division that we called as mitotic cell division. Whereas in sexual reproduction, there is involvement of two parents. So naturally, there will be two gametes, male gamete and female gametes. Here you will find that in asexual reproduction, since single parent is there, there is no fusion of gametes takes place. There is simply a cell division, and that too a mitotic cell division, whereas in sexual reproduction you will find that there is a fusion of male and female gametes takes place. Now what are these male and female gametes? Male gamete can be sperm and female gametes can be oocytes. And here you will find that the cell division that is of two types. There is a mitotic cell division as well as meiotic cell division, means mitosis and meiosis, both the types of cell divisions which takes place in sexual reproduction. Here you will find that in asexual reproduction, since single parent is involved, there is minor variation, that too due to the inaccuracies which occur during the DNA copy. Whereas in sexual reproduction, two different individuals are involved, therefore variations are more. Now here you will find that asexual reproduction, which takes place by various methods like fragmentation, budding, regeneration, etc., which we will be studying now, whereas sexual reproduction takes place by pollination, copulation in humans and by fertilization. We will see here asexual reproduction in unicellular organisms. In unicellular organisms, asexual reproduction takes place by three methods, that is binary fission, multiple fission and budding in yeast cells. One by one we are going to study in detail. First we will see binary fission in amoeba. Now here we will see this binary fission which takes place in different protists in different ways, like simple binary fission which takes place in amoeba. It is a simple cell division. Here you will find that when the parent amoeba is getting mature, enlarges and starts dividing. So as you know that cell division takes place first karyokinesis, means the nuclear division, and then the cytokinesis, that is cell division. That is how you will find that the constriction takes place in the parent amoeba and it gets divided into two daughter cells. The second method is longitudinal binary fission, which takes place in euglena. It is a vertical division we can see in the euglena. Then the third type of binary fission is transverse binary fission, which takes place in paramucium. Here it is transverse, means horizontal binary fission. Horizontal constriction takes place and paramucium is getting divided into two daughter paramucium by simple mitotic division. Next we will see second type of reproduction in unicellular organisms is multiple fission. Here you will see that in multiple fission, parent amoeba, when it falls in unfavorable conditions, when the conditions are not suitable for cell division, at that time the pseudopodia disappears and a cyst, that is a covering around the amoeba forms. Inside the cyst, amoeba keeps on multiplying. The nuclear division is going on inside the cyst, and as soon as the favorable conditions occur, at a time multiple amoebulae are reproduced. That is why it is called as multiple fission. Next type of reproduction in unicellular organisms is budding in yeast. Here you will find that yeast cells, that is fungus. So, in this yeast cells, they are unicellular cells. When this yeast parent cell gets mature, it gets an outgrowth here on the cell, and here slowly and slowly there is a constriction occurs and the cytoplasm and nuclear division takes place, and the daughter yeast cells are produced. Here you will find that this process takes place very fast. Asexual reproduction actually takes place very fast compared to the sexual reproduction, because in asexual reproduction there is a single parent. That is why the rate of reproduction is also very fast. Now students, we are going to see asexual reproduction in multicellular organisms. Now in multicellular organisms you will find that there are 5 methods of asexual reproduction, and they are fragmentation, budding in hydra, regeneration, vegetative propagation, and spore formation. Now one by one we will study them in detail. First we will see fragmentation. Now you all know algae, that is Spirogyra. The fibers of Spirogyra, when in the unfavorable conditions, when they are splitted or cutted into parts or in pieces, from every piece new Spirogyra fiber can be developed. As you all have studied Spirogyra from the primary classes, you all know that they are the rectangular cells and every cell is having nucleus. So, nucleus is able to do cell division, and that is why here you will find fragment, whichever fragment it is, if it has got a nucleus, from that the new Spirogyra fiber can be developed. Next is budding in hydra. Hydra, which is a coelenterate that is growing in a marine water, and when this hydra is getting mature, it develops a bud on it, and when this bud is growing, it gets nourishment from the parent hydra. As soon as it is grown completely, it gets detached from the parent hydra and starts living independent life. Next method of asexual reproduction in multicellular organism is regeneration. In regeneration, here you will find in planaria, when the parent planaria, unfortunately, if it is getting cutted into pieces. Now actually remember that regeneration is not an alternative for reproduction, right. So in case they are cutted into the pieces, these organisms, so from every piece a new organism can be developed, and that is how regeneration capacity is present in few of these organisms, because regeneration takes place in some of the organisms, those have got regenerative cells in them. Next method is spore formation. The organisms like mucor, or you can see rhizopus, in these organisms you will find the reproduction takes place by spores. Here you will find that in rhizopus sporangia develops, and when this sporangia gets mature, it bursts and releases spores in the atmosphere. Whenever these spores are getting favorable conditions, from every spore new fiber can develop, and that is how by asexual means reproduction takes place in some of the organisms. We will see here next, that is vegetative propagation. Here you will find that reproduction in the plants actually takes place by means of flower, which is a sexual organ, but here it is vegetative propagation, means reproduction which takes place by vegetative parts of the plant. Now which are the vegetative parts of the plant? Yes students, leaves, roots and stems. These are the vegetative parts of the plants. Here you will find that in potato is a stem, right. So, in potato you will find whichever those notches or burrs appear on potato, from that the new plant can be grown. So, that is vegetative propagation by stem. Similarly, you will find by roots on the ginger, by that also the new plant can be grown. Not only ginger, but you can see carrot, radish in that also, or even sweet potato. By root the vegetative propagation takes place, and by leaves you will find in the leaves of bryophyllum the edges are developing buds in the leaves of bryophyllum, and from every bud in a favorable conditions you will find the new plant can be grown. So, that is how by asexual means reproduction takes place in unicellular as well as in multicellular organisms. Now, students, we are going to study about sexual reproduction in plants. As you all know that flower is the organ of sexual reproduction in plants, and flower has got various parts like it has got 4 main holes, that is calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Here you will find androecium is a male hole, whereas gynoecium is a female hole. Androecium has got main 2 parts, that is anther and filament, whereas gynoecium has got 3 main parts, that is ovary, style and stigma. Here you will see that in sexual reproduction it takes place in 3 stages, that is pollination, fertilization and germination. Now, what is pollination? Pollination is nothing but the transfer of pollens from anther to the stigma. Here you will see that pollination takes place by 2 methods, that is self pollination and cross pollination. Now, what is self pollination? When the transfer of pollens takes place in the same flower or the other flower of the same plant, it is called as self pollination, whereas in the cross pollination the transfer of pollen takes place from anther to stigma of the different plants or different flowers of the same species, that is called as pollination. Now, there are various agents of pollination, as you all know, wind, water and insects. When the insects are flying from one flower to the another flower, or they fly or sit from anther to stigma, they carry pollens along with their legs and wings, and that is how the pollination takes place. Now, here you will see there are 2 types of flowers we can see. There are unisexual flowers and bisexual flowers. Now, what does it mean, unisexual flower? In this you will find there is a presence of only single hole, either it can be only androecium or it can be gynoecium. So, any one hole is present in the flower, such flowers we called as unisexual flowers. For example, you can see this in papaya flower, watermelon flower. The second type is bisexual flower. These are the flowers which we are more familiar with, like hibiscus and datura, in which you might have observed that it has got anthers also and it has got carpels also, means it has got androecium also as well as gynoecium also, isn't it? So, these are the 2 types of flowers we should know. Next to pollination, we are going to study fertilization. Now, once the transfer of pollen occurred on the stigma, what happens next? The pollen which is transferred on the stigma, here since stigma is a sticky part, this pollen sticks on the stigma and starts germinating. Once it gets germinated completely, you will find that it develops a pollen tube. In the second diagram, you all can see the development of the pollen tube here, and this pollen tube enters into the ovule. Through this pollen tube, the male pollens or sperm cells can enter and they reach to the ovule. Now, here you will see that in this pollens will fuse with the egg cell or oocyte inside the ovule. The first sperm cell which fuses to the oocyte, fertilization takes place and a zygote forms, whereas in the second pollen which comes through the pollen tube will fuse to the secondary nuclei, or we can say polar nuclei, and they will form an endosperm. This endosperm will provide the nutritive material for the zygote. Afterwards, by repeated cell divisions, this zygote will change into embryo, and that is how the fertilization, means the reproduction, occurs. Ovule develops into the seeds and ovary developed into the fruit. That is how it resulted into the reproduction. Now, this type of fertilization is also called as double fertilization, as twice the fusion occurs. First time it occurs by the first pollen or the sperm which enters into the ovule, and second when it is fusing, second sperm cells which fuse to the polar nuclei to form endosperm. That is why it is also called as double fertilization. After fertilization, when we get the formation of fruits and seeds, after this we can go for the third step, that is germination. Now, what is the meaning of germination? In germination, you know that when we sow the seeds or we keep the seeds in moist soil, they start germinating, means the small outgrowths are coming out of the seeds, and these small outgrowths are called as plumules and radicle. Plumule is the one which is growing towards the sunlight, that is developed into a stem or shoot, whereas the radicle which grow opposite of sunlight, that is towards gravity, and it develops into a root. So, this is how we can study the fertilization or sexual reproduction in plants. I hope students you have understood about the asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction in plants. Today we have studied the difference between asexual and sexual reproduction. Then we have studied about the asexual reproduction in unicellular organisms, which takes place by three methods: binary fission, budding in yeast, and which is the next, multiple fission. And after that we studied about asexual reproduction in multicellular organisms. There are five methods of that which we have studied, that is fragmentation, budding in hydra, we have studied spore formation, regeneration, and vegetative propagation. Next to that we studied sexual reproduction in plants, which takes place by three methods, that is pollination, fertilization, and germination. Hello students, in the last lecture we have studied about asexual reproduction as well as sexual reproduction in plants. Today we are going to study about sexual reproduction in human beings. As you all know that in standard 10th we are more focused in the study of human systems, right, human organ systems. So, here also we are going to study about sexual reproduction in human being. As you all know that male and female gametes are involved in the sexual reproduction. Now, when the children are born, whether it is a girl child or a boy child, both of them are growing normally till the age of 10 to 11 years. But after that, their growth turns towards the growth of reproductive parts of the organisms. And here in that there are also some common changes in the girls and boys, like they are height and weight is growing, but with that you will find growth of sexual organs takes place. The second change in the girls and boys, you will find that growth of hair around genital areas and armpits takes place. But there are some changes which are very specific for girls and boys. We will see in the girls the changes takes place like the enlargement of fat cells in the body parts like breast and buttocks, and they starts getting menstruation. What is menstruation, which we are going to study later. So, these are the two major changes which takes place in the girl children. So, these are the changes which takes place in the girls and boys, that is because of the hormones which are released in their body. At the same time, when the boys are coming into the puberty, their voice changes, their vocal cords are developed. At the same time, you will find they develop the moustache and beard on their face. So, these are the major changes you can notice, you can find in the girls and boys at the age of puberty. This period is prolonged in the boys till 21 years of age. So, the boys can get these changes, find these changes in their body right from the 13 years till 21 years, because every individual is unique, and that is why these changes also will be differing in all the different individuals. Some may get these changes in at the age of 13, or some may get at the age of 15, and some may get it at the age of 18. Whereas in the girls you will find the two major changes, as I told you, that the fat cells starts enlarged in the body parts like buttocks and the breast cells. They get enlarged and a specific shape of their body starts developing. In the girls, second major change which takes place, that is the occurrence of menstrual cycle. Now we will see what is this menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle, it is a repeated cycle which takes place in the body of girls right from the puberty till the menopause. Menopause is the stage in the females which comes around the age of 45 to 50 years. Again, it is varied as every individual is unique. Some females can be getting it at the age of 45, 50, or maybe at 55 also. Till the menopause occurs, the female is fertile, means capable to give birth to the new organisms. Here you will find that in this picture you all can see that the menstrual cycle in the females which takes place every 28 days. Here you will find the main hormones which are important in the menstrual cycle are follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, estrogen and progesterone. Due to the release of these hormones, the endometrium layer is formed inside the walls of uterus. As the days are passing, the uterine endometrium is getting thicker and thicker. Every month this uterus is awaiting for the fertilized egg. When it does not come, it is shedding all the endometrium along with unfertilized eggs along with the blood from the body of females through vagina, and this cycle repeats after every 28 to 30 days. Here you will find that when the girls they have this cycle of 28 to 30 days, their ovulation period comes exactly in the middle, that is 14th and 15th days. During the ovulation period, if the copulation occurs, then there are chances of fertilizing the oocytes and the pregnancy can occur. We will see here next, that is human female reproductive system. As I told you that once the girls are in a puberty, means they start getting menstruation, they are able to give birth to the child. Here you will find that in human female reproductive system, the important organs are pair of ovaries, pair of oviducts, one uterus, and vagina. These are the main organs. If you see the functions of ovaries and oviducts, ovaries are holding eggs in it. Right from the child of the girl, here you will find in the ovaries there are lakhs of eggs, but those eggs are immature eggs. And when the girls get into puberty, they get mature. Every month one egg is getting mature and releases alternately from the ovaries. The eggs which will be released by the ovary enters with the help of fallopian tubes into the oviduct. Oviducts are the two ducts, those are joining ovaries into the uterus. When this egg is here in the oviducts awaiting for the sperms to come and fertilize. If it is not fertilized in a day, these eggs will come down in the uterus and they will be the part of the menstrual waste. Here you will find that when copulation occurs, the sperms are entered through vagina and they travel towards the oviducts to fertilize the eggs. Uterus is a bag-like, elastic bag-like structure which holds the fetus for 9 months till it gets delivered after the completion of 9 months. It is elastic structure which is having that endometrium lines which is supplying the nutrition to the fetus. Here you will find vagina, which is a common opening in the female which allows the sperms to enter. It is the common passage for the fetus or the child to take birth as well as to release the menopausal blood.